to know that your position in the social hierarchy determines the balance between your positive and negative emotion. That's like a crucial insight into human behavior. And that we have a positive emotion system, and that we have a negative emotion system, and that they're separate. Those are unbelievably important discoveries. All made, by the way, virtually all made by animal experimentalists, just so you know, because they deserve some credit. So now, the issue is, how is your perception related to your emotion? And so it looks like it, and this is much of this I learned from Jeffrey Gray. Now, Gray was a student of Eysenck, but he's also a student of someone named Norbert Wiener, who was a cyberneticist at MIT. He established the field of cybernetics, and he was one of the first people he was one of the founders of computational science. He was a big deal, Norbert Wiener, and his work had tremendous impact on all sorts of fields. And he was trying to figure out how to generate autonomous self-correcting systems. So let's say intelligent systems, and us among them, because we're autonomous self-correcting systems. And so Gray knew about Norbert Wiener's work, and he integrated that with Eysenck's work and then with all this psychobiology, and he came up with a lovely set of ideas that are extraordinarily useful. And so here's one of them. We live inside, we perceive, this is part of perceiving the world as a story. We perceive the world as a place to go from one location to another. So you can imagine that we're on a journey. That's our life, is a journey. And it might be a 10-minute journey. It might be a 15-minute journey. It might be the journey of a week. It might be the journey of a month or the journey of a lifetime. And, you know, maybe what you would want is that the journey of a minute and 10 minutes and a week and a month and a year culminate into the journey of a lifetime. You know, you could imagine that you would want some continuity across all that, so that there was some integrity to your existence, so that each part of what you were doing was related in some intelligible way to the whole. That would be an ideal. When you think of someone as being integrated, right, as having character, something like that, that's really what you mean. You mean that all the parts of what they do fit somehow into an integrated whole. And so that's kind of interesting to know too, because if you have a value system that's well structured, then all the little things you do are part of the big thing that you're doing, whatever that big thing is, and you are doing that big thing. Okay, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, so you're looking at the world. You're a creature of action. You have to be a creature of action because you have to act in order to live, because if you don't act, well, then you fall apart and you're overwhelmed by despair and negative emotion and you starve to death and you die. And so not acting, not an option. So unless you're willing to take the consequences I just described. So you better look at the world as a place to act. And so how do you act? Well, you're somewhere. You should know where you are, by the way. That's very helpful psychologically. You know, imagine you have a map, you're in a car, and you don't know where you are. You're trying to get somewhere. The map's not helpful because you don't know where you are. And so even if you know where you're going, but you don't know where you are, the map isn't useful. And the same really does apply to your life. If you don't know where you are, it's very hard to map out where you're going. And, well, that has consequences for emotion as well, because going somewhere is actually what activates the positive emotion system. That's what it's for. The positive emotion system is to facilitate movement forward to a better place. That's its function. So that's so interesting, because it means that if you're not moving forward to a better place, then you don't have any positive emotion. And so there's another conclusion that you can derive from that too, which is that if you don't have a value system, you don't have any positive emotion. Because a value system is what posits that one thing is worth doing more than another. And if one thing isn't worth doing more than another, then you don't have any place valuable to go. And if you don't have any place valuable to go, then you don't have any positive emotion. And so so when people are criticizing hierarchies, which they do a lot, especially politically, there shouldn't be hierarchies. It's like, really, there shouldn't be hierarchies, eh? How is it that you propose to look at the world? Because you look at the thing that you think is most important to look at that point. And if you couldn't, you wouldn't even know what to look at. You know,